Hey Kyle, I believe it is recording now. I'm Missy. We haven't met yet. But you had some questions about like the heart rate in Ian Tobin's triangle. So I thought I'd just pop on and try to point a couple things out for you real quick. I have my, this is my EKG here. It's not an EKG that you have. I don't happen to have the packet. You guys, you can use whatever packet you have in the notes. You can follow along the same sort of way. I'm going to do Ian Tobin's triangle first. All Ian Tobin's triangle is so that you can, as an EKG technician or physiologist, to figure out whether or not you have the lead wires on correctly. Okay, so it's just a little tips and tricks on how to figure that out. So if you actually look at, for Ian Tobin's triangles, we're going to look at these three leads. Lead 1, lead 2, and lead 3. Those are Roman numerals, 1, 2, and 3. I actually can make this a little bigger, I think. So let me try to make this bigger. There we go. All right, so we're going to use Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. Just these three leads here to determine Ian Tobin's triangle. Okay? So all Ian Tobin's triangle is the formula is 1 plus 3 equals 2. So what that means is the size of the QRS here in 1, if I were to take this QRS and stack it on top of the size of the QRS in 3. So we just took this and stacked it on top of this one. It should be about the size of the QRS in lead 2. So 1 plus 3 should equal 2. Okay? When I went through and explained the isoelectric line, which is what this line is here, baseline isoelectric line, I also explained that anything above the isoelectric line is considered positive deflection, and anything below it is a negative deflection. Okay? And so this is basically 0 on a number line. And that comes in handy when you're doing Ian Tobin's triangle. So say if I had this one was positive and this one down here was negative, then I would actually subtract, because when you add a negative, you subtract, correct? So lead 2 would actually be a little smaller. So all Ian Tobin's triangle is just to double check to make sure that you have your lead wires on properly. And it's 1 plus 3 should equal 2. It doesn't have to be exact. You do not have to count all the little boxes. It is just a guesstimate. Okay, you're just eyeballing it to see if it actually works. And this does. If I stack that on top of that, it does equal that. Okay, so as far as heart rate goes, we've got 3 different ways we can do heart rate. This entire EKG itself across the bottom, I'm going to pull it up just a little bit, is, I'm at the hospital, by the way. And I am just making a quick video from an EKG I happen to have close by. Yeah. So this full entire EKG is 10 seconds worth of time. Okay, so all the way across the bottom is our 10-second strip. We're not going to use any of these up here. They're very small, like little pieces of strips. We want the full strips. We're going to look all the way down here. So the very easiest way to do an EKG, to find heart rate on an EKG, number 1, is to count the number of QRSs, because that basically just means each one of those is one heartbeat, right? So we would count the QRSs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of them across the bottom. And since there are 10, this is 10 seconds worth, and we need 60 seconds for a minute, it would be 13 times 6. And I am not ready to do math right now, so I'm going to do 13 times 6 is 78. So this method of the 10 by 6 method, so counting them up for 10 seconds, multiply times 6, gives me 78. So it says me the heart rate is 78 for this one, which is normal if it's in NSR, okay? And the other way to do it, the more precise way, is called the 1500 method. Now, if you look at these little squares on here, on the EKG, you have kind of bigger squares, you have teeny tiny little squares, okay? Each bigger square has 5 tiny squares in it. So we're counting the number of tiny squares between each of the QRSs. Just pick one. I like to start one like this one right here falls on a line, so I know I can just go over and go 5, 10, 15. It's almost 20. It's about 19 little tiny boxes. I'm going to do that again for you with a better pointer. So again, I started here on this QRS because it happens to fall in a line, and I can just count the boxes easier. That's the only reason I'm starting there. Okay. And I need to count the little boxes between this one and this one. That's the distance between each heartbeat. So I know from here to here is 5, and then 10 more, and then 15, and then over here would be 20, but it's about one less, so it's about 19. So I have 19 tiny little boxes. This is where math comes in. It's 1,500 divided by 19. That gave me 78, heart rate of 78. Again, we get the heart rate of 78, 78 point something. So 2 methods to find the heart rate. Counting them up, right? Or, and multiplying times 10. Or we can do the, like, count the little boxes and divide it by 1,500. The one that's in the notes that's called the countdown method is just it's kind of a cheat for the 1,500 method. You have to learn the 1,500 method first. So if you know that 1,500 method, then say we had a QRS right here, right on the next box over. Okay? So the next box over is just 5 little tiny boxes. So 1,500 divided by 5 is 300. So if I had another QRS right here, right next to it, this means it would be beating at 300 beats per minute. Super fast, right? Next one over is 10 little boxes. 1,500 divided by 10 is 150. So if I had a QRS right here, it would be beating at about 150 beats per minute. Next one over is 15 boxes. 1,500 divided by 100 divided by 1,500 divided by 15 is 100. So the countdown method is just memorizing. This is 300, 150, 100, and do the math for each. 75, then 60, then 50. And that is just the 1,500 method, using that and figuring out what those numbers are ahead of time. So if you'd rather use the 1,500 method or the count method and count and multiply, it's fine with me. I just gave you different options. Okay? I use the countdown method all the time just because it's quick and easy, and I don't always have a full 10-second strip. I sometimes only just get a little clip of it. I get like 4 or 5 beats, and I need to find out the heart rate really quickly. So I just go, oh, I'm going to estimate 300, 150, 150, 75. It's about 78. I can guesstimate. Okay? Same thing with here. So 300, 150, 100, 75, just a little bit above would be 78. We already determined it was 78 because we've done the other 2 methods. Okay? The most accurate is the 1,500 method. I have a practice packet for you with 8 different EKGs in it that you can write all over, and we're going to go over those in class on Monday. So that's the way you do it. If you have any other questions before then, we can just catch up on Monday, okay? But hopefully that helps. And of course, let me know if you have any other questions. Let me see if I can get out of here. Have a great evening. I look forward to meeting you on Monday.